All right, we're good.
All right.
Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's everything tonight? It is Monday night, and once again, the agents of high entertainment, low morals are back giving you a new installment of our discussion regarding box office and everything in news and entertainment. So without further ado, I'm going to jump it right to the agents. I am Malik, and we have Joe.
What's going on, guys?
And of course, we have Johanna.
Hey.
And rejoining the team after a couple of weeks off from the weeklies, we have Lorenzo, and he's going to jump us right in with the box office top 10 from the week that was July 18th to the 20th. Lorenzo, it's off to you.
Thanks, Malik. I appreciate the introduction. And thank you for covering for me those last 2 weeks.
No problem.
Yeah. So this week we have 3 new movies that came out. Sex Tape. You guys familiar with Sex Tape?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Starting
apparently-
some.
Yeah, it sounds like that movie, Road Trip, a little bit, where there's a sex tape and they need to go get the sex tape. I think that's the gist of it. But it's been posted to the internet, and so they have to track it down on the servers or wherever
It's
things
in the
go.
cloud, right?
Yeah,
in the
wherever
cloud?
things go, they have to go chase it down in the cloud. So that came in at number 4. It beat out Transformers: Age of Extinction. Me and Joe's favorite movie, Joe and I's favorite movie.
Yeah.
But say what you will about Age of Extinction, it turned a profit over the last couple of weeks. Sex Tape made $14 million. Now, Planes: Fire and Rescue. This is the sequel to Planes, which in turn is kind of a sequel to Cars. The thing about Planes that really bothered me, because I went and saw the first one for a little bit, was that they make it seem like it's a Pixar movie, but it's not a Pixar movie. It's a Disney movie that they made to kind of look like a Pixar movie. So I will not be seeing Planes, Fire, and Rescue because I saw the first Planes and it just looked like a cheap imitation of a Pixar film. I was very disappointed. I say don't go see it. Protest this falsitudes. This
Lorenzo, I'm not going to do
plagiarism.
it, man. I'm not going.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
I will be breaking the picket line. I am a scab. I have a 3-year-old. I will be dragged.
No, take
No.
your daughter to see this crap.
He's
That's what it
really
is.
into planes, you guys. Like,
Crap.
crazy into planes.
Oh, you know what? Then let her watch Top Gun.
Yeah. There's the Top Gun.
Sorry, she's in the
what
plane.
about-
Top Gun. Hit the brakes, they'll fly right by. Top Gun.
Introduce her to her African American roots and take her to go see Red Wing.
What is Red Wing?
It's about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Tuskegee Airmen? I should.
Yeah.
That is part of her heritage, and I should probably do that. But she probably will want to see Airplane and Dusty and Chewy, whatever the heck is the Mexican one's
Crap.
name.
It's crap, racist crap. All right, and then Purge Anarchy made $29 million, came in at number 2. This is the sequel to The Purge. This is where everybody gets to do whatever the hell they want one night a year, and that apparently keeps crime real low. Is that how it works, Joe?
Yep.
Yep.
And this is
Don't get caught outside. Somehow people always do.
effective. You think this is an effective way of preventing crime?
You need a super duper security system so people can't come into your house and kill you. But somehow there always seems to be. I believe in the first one, they opened the door, right? You guys saw the first one. They
Yeah.
opened
I
the
haven't
door
seen- I
and
haven't
let
seen the
somebody
first
in.
The stupid
The
son
guy,
of a
yeah.
bitch.
Don't
the
let
guys
people
faked
into
him
your
out.
house on the Purge night.
Yeah, and they made that a big point, and of course he let somebody in.
Seems like a pretty simple rule to follow.
And then the other rule is don't get caught outside, and it seems like an entire group is caught outside in the second one.
Like,
So-
even.
I just don't understand how it works. Like, is it basically like you're not allowed to commit crimes like more than you aren't
Yeah.
usually allowed to commit crimes? Like in our world, you get in trouble for committing a crime, but in this world, it's kind of like where is it where if you chew gum they lash you?
Singapore?
Yeah, maybe
I think it's
Singapore.
Singapore. They get caned.
Caned, right? Caned.
Yeah.
Is that what this is like? It's like
No, well,
extreme punishment during the rest of the year.
they don't really mention what. So basically, they don't really mention what the rest of the year is supposed to be. Basically, what
Yeah.
they did is they said that due to wars and basically this was kind of put put into put into place because of the wars and things that were going on around the world. So they put this kind of thing into place in America. I'm not sure if it's worldwide. I think it's only in the United States that this is being done.
Yeah, is it all the United States or just the Los Angeles?
No, it's the
Uh,
entire country.
okay.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
entire
that
country. So they
doesn't
they they,
seem
put
right.
this, they implement this in place so that all crime is legal on this one night for 12 hours from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. All crime is legal, including murder. So it's basically it's not to say that they wouldn't, you basically, you can get away with anything you want on this one night. If you do everything else, if you do it over the course of the year and you don't do it on the night of the purge, my guess is that you would still be subject to prosecution or whatever, being placed in jail or whatever harsh penalties would be around you. Um, However, if you wait until purge night, you can get out all of these, sadistic fantasies and things that you want to do, and not have to worry about the repercussion of law enforcement.
Now, Malik, what if you seriously injure somebody on purge night, but they don't die? They just like go into a coma or something, and then they die when purge night is over.
Oh
Doesn't
God.
matter.
Then
I don't think it matters.
I don't think
The
it
crime
matters.
occurred on purge night,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
it particularly matters because you're not. See, the whole thing is you're not really, as far as the police are concerned, everything is legal. So as far as they're concerned, it wasn't a crime when it was done. So if the person dies, 6 weeks later from something that happened on purge night, well, technically what was done to that person 6 weeks ago was legal at the time. So
Now, is it like Blockbusters where like if you kidnap somebody, you have to be sure to get them back by 7 the next morning,
you have to.
otherwise you're going to incur like a late fee?
Well,
Or
you have to do whatever it is that you're going to do. It has to be done by 7 a.m. After
get
7 a.m., basically the bells go off or the alarm
The
goes off,
sirens, yeah.
the sirens go off, and everybody knows that the purge is over. And whatever you're doing at that very moment, like you could be in the middle of shooting somebody, and if those alarms go off at 7 o'clock in the morning, you got to stop, turn around, and go back home.
stop shooting them.
Stop doing whatever you're doing.
Stop kidnapping them.
Because the minute that if you do something after that, you're now subject to the law.
Like even if it's ripping off the duct tape.
Whatever it is.
You get into too detailed. I think most people are not gonna. If you're gonna kidnap someone during the purge, I think you're just gonna kill them. There's no need for the. You could torture them, but
that's
in
right.
the end,
Like if
I think you're gonna kill them.
It's kind of like with Blockbuster, how sometimes it's just better just to keep the video than to
Yeah.
even worry about the late fees.
Well, I think also there's that probably that one sadistic person that would probably keep the person alive until like 6:58.
Yeah, and then
They'll
And
have
then just-
Siri set
and then shoot him in the head.
Yeah, exactly. Just like have a conversation with them and talk to them and don't do anything to them, and then like around 6:58, when they think it's all said and done, you just shoot them in the head.
Yeah, and I
Anyway,
think it
does
probably
not
goes
seem-
back to. I was gonna say it probably goes back to. You remember that movie Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
where they live in that perfect society? That's
Yeah.
probably what it goes back to, where they get demerits for cursing and stuff like that, and use the
right.
3 spells to go to the bathroom.
And all
kind
restaurants
of
are
stuff.
Taco Bell.
That's right. It's probably something like that. That's why they need the purge.
It sucks.
Well, not for nothing. This one, the Purge Anarchy, got higher ratings or higher reviews than the original Purge. I'm not sure, Joe, if you want to take a quick look at Rotten Tomatoes as to what it got, but I think that this one was received a little bit better.
It looked better. I mean, it looked more like an action film than the first one looked.
You know what? My big message from the Purge Anarchy. Okay, first let's just go to number 1, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Oh, see that movie, and it has made $140 million.
Wow.
But the thing is that it cost $170 million to make. Now I'm sure that they're going to turn a profit, international and what have you. But what, like, I'm looking at these numbers here, and what I see, and this is a trend that's been going on since we started doing these box office numbers, is that if you make a cheap movie, you're going to make more money than you are if you make a more expensive movie.
You sound like the producers.
Well, I mean, it's true. 22 Jump Street made like 130 million, and they spent 50 million on it. Tammy made $50 million. They spent 20 million on it. The Purge has already made $20 million, and they only spent $9 million on it. What I'm gonna do, guys, watch this transition. Watch this. What I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna make a spreadsheet. Of like of the top 20 movies on the box office, and compare the total gross with the budget, and see. And I'm gonna have numbers to back up what I'm saying here, which is basically that if you make a cheaper movie, you're more likely to make a higher profit.
Well, that's the whole basis of the movie and the play of the producers, right? From Neil Simon, I believe, isn't it Neil Simon?
No, the producers was that they were going to put. What you can do is you can insure a production, and so what they did was they insured the production, and then it's like basically when you set your business on fire.
But weren't they trying to make a bomb? Yeah, weren't they trying to make the worst movie ever?
Right, because they needed it to do so badly so that they could then cash in on the insurance.
There you go.
And I'm saying this without really a strong memory of what the movie was about, but I'm pretty sure that was it.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that was the premise.
Well, the one thing that you did do, and Lorenzo, thank you for that rundown.
You liked it, man. You liked it.
But the one thing that you did definitely do is create a segue to our next topic. So
because Excel sheets are so they come in so handy when it comes to wanting to make a point.
They really do. When it comes to getting your point across, clearly they do exactly that. So before we jump into any of the discussions about any of the shows that we've seen or things of that sort, we definitely have to touch on a story that seems like it's tailor-made for the Agents of Helm. So some of you may have seen this over the last week or so, where a husband, I'm not sure where, if you guys can find me the location as to where he is from, a husband created a spreadsheet and sent it to his wife, outlining the last 30 days of their sex life and, essentially the lack thereof. So what he did was he built out a spreadsheet. He created 3 columns: the date, the whether or not they had sex, which was just a straight yes or no answer, and then he put in a 3rd column, which was the excuse column. And the excuse column was literally verbatim as to the word that she said to him to get him to not, so that they didn't have to have sex that evening. Now, he didn't. They obviously, he sent this to his wife. His wife then posted it. Where was this, Johanna?
Reddit.
On Reddit. So it has now made its way all around the internet. It's gone viral, and so this is clearly something that we agents have to talk about. And I am this is one of those subjects where I'm really, really, really happy that we added in a female pundit, because her perspective on things is going to be
totally wrong,
clearly different from ours. So so I do want to say I want to go ladies first on this one, just because I know we're going to shred her thoughts apart.
I know.
So I just want to be nice and start out with Johanna and say, what do you think about this, Johanna? And what would you do if you got the spreadsheet?
Okay. I think intimacy is very important. I think the stereotype that somehow the wife has a headache and doesn't really want to have sex and all this other stuff, I feel like it's bullshit. Because the women I know who are married don't feel that way. I guess I'm trying to figure out the point of making this spreadsheet, other than to just be like, here. If you're trying to make things better, I don't think a her sort of gesture is the way to go with it. It's certainly, if I received this spreadsheet, I think part of I might cry because I wish that, you know, my partner would come to me like in a way that was a little more sensitive than just I've listed every single time you haven't had sex with me, and that I haven't had an honest conversation with you about how much I do want to have sex with you and how much I care about you and what this is doing to our marriage, instead of just showing me kind of this passive aggressive spreadsheet, you know, putting it on your Evernote, which, I mean, I don't mean to out my husband. He does listen to this, but he does have an Evernote. I do not know if he keeps track of these things, but I know that he does things with his phone and with apps and with organizing documents that I can't even imagine. That the phone probably is just like, I didn't even know I could do this with myself. So I guess, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to be extremely morally outraged. I'm sad for him. I'm sad
Sad.
for him. No,
Yeah, I'm
because
sad for him too.
there's so many ways that he could have made that point that would have involved, like, sensual massage
Oh my god.
and
Johanna, you're making a lot of assumptions here.
kind of
Yeah,
like,
that's a lot of
don't
assumptions.
know.
okay, goes
We don't know
along
if
with
he didn't go that route the first, 10 times this
I
happened.
guarantee you this is not the first time he brought this up with her. I guarantee.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'll turn the question back on you guys. Like, one, what is the purpose of creating this spreadsheet? Okay, and two,
Evidence.
well, okay, so evidence towards what? What's the end result?
It's
Because
it's to
Prove
make
a
a
point.
point. Because I guarantee you she was saying things like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, you're exaggerating. It's not that I don't want to have sex. There's perfectly good reasons when I tell you that I'm not. No, it's not you. No, it's. She's like saying all these things that she can't really back that he's listening to, and he's like, well, the reality doesn't really reflect what it is that she's saying. Let me go ahead and just make a record. Or maybe he was even thinking, you know what? Maybe she's right. Maybe what she's saying has some justification, and I'm looking at it from my perspective. And so let me go ahead and be scientific about it and record the data. And then we can both look at it objectively and have a conversation based on the facts, not based on our own subjective opinions.
but I mean, adding the excuses
It's very relevant
Yeah.
because she I bet you what happened is they've had that, like I said, they've had that discussion before, and when it comes to her explaining why she wasn't interested in sex, I'm betting that her reasons didn't jibe with the reasons that she gave the night of. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing about she couldn't have sex because she wanted to watch Friends. Friends. Now this was done like this summer. Okay, this isn't like when Friends was out. We're talking about Friends reruns. She had to watch Friends. That was her excuse. I think that should be written down. That's important. It's relevant to the conversation.
I have another question. Like, do you guys think that, like, she didn't know that this was a problem?
No, I'm telling you, they've had this conversation before, and
I'm sure she's aware of it.
she's dismissing. She was probably dismissive of it.
Yeah, I think
The question I have is why she would show the world. Like, to me, it makes her look bad.
I think that this is definitely, like Lorenzo said, this is definitely something that's probably come up in the past. And just to give more context to the situation, it looked like the wife was on her way to a business trip of some sort, so she was going to be away for like 10 days, and
And she said no.
and the message that he sent to her, he sent this message to her work email, which is connected to her phone, basically as a sarcastic statement, basically saying that he won't miss her for the 10 days that she is gone, and this is the reason why I won't miss you, because when you're here, nothing happens anyway. So basically, this was his way of sticking it to her. Now, see, look. If you really want, to me, the reason why there's so many reasons why you can make a spreadsheet like this. I mean, you can make a spreadsheet like this to have it as data that you can give your lawyer when it's time to go to the divorce attorney. Here it is. This is the reason why. You can use this as data when she catches you when she comes home late and catches you in the bed with the maid. Here, honey. This is the exact reason why this is happening. Here, take a look. This is why. Guess what? She doesn't say no. See. This is the spreadsheet. This is her spreadsheet. See how all her spreadsheets.
Oh, you think he's keeping the
See how
spreadsheet for her too?
Yeah,
Wow.
Malik, he's gonna need more than 1 month's worth of data.
Look,
This kind of pattern.
I'm trusting. This is
He's gonna need
probably
more than
all,
1 month.
just Joe. This is probably all he shared. I'm sure he has more.
Yeah,
I am certain that he
I
didn't
hope so.
just start the spreadsheet.
Can I make a confession?
Sure.
I keep track.
Uh-oh.
No, I keep track because intimacy is really important, and I really sincerely think that if you're not having all the sex you want, like in a marriage, in a relationship, that's a huge problem. Like that can lead to further problems down the road.
So why do you keep track?
I keep track.
But why?
But why? I'm also like a tracker. I also tend to keep track of everything, because then I'm usually like,
So do you use Excel for this?
So
No, I do not use Excel
Do you
for this.
mentally keep track?
Well,
Do you mentally keep track, or
you have like sex.
or are you writing it down somewhere?
I have an app.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure
I mean,
there
what
are calendar apps out there.
you have an
I have
app?
an app.
you have
Yeah.
a sex
app.
app?
There's like calendars and stuff you can.
Yeah. The
can
thing
keep
is, though, that like I feel
That's
that
the- That's no
I-
different than keeping a spreadsheet, by the way.
okay,
It's
but
really
I'm
not.
not.
The spreadsheet would probably
listing
be
the
easier to
excuses.
read.
Although, like, our excuses usually were up until last week, we had the baby in the bed, like we were still sleeping with her. So like we knew that was an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't list the excuses. I just listed the times, and it was kind of like, you know, like I didn't share it. I hope my mother's not listening to this or anything. But it was something for me to keep in mind. Like if there were some months where I'm like, damn, like that was really not a lot of times that we had sex, and that might be indicative of a problem. That's time for me to sit down with my husband. And usually my husband has noticed it too. And then it's kind of just having an adult conversation. That's not just me sending him a screenshot of the tracker and saying, here.
You have a tracker?
I have a tracker.
So I mean, it gives you
It's an
like a
app. You're just not
numerical.
using a spreadsheet.
It does give you the numbers then.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good visual because I see the month and I see how many times the sex has happened.
The sex.
So is it like a line graph where like the spikes and there's a spike on in certain months, does it go up and down, is it kind of like that?
I have a feeling I'm inspiring
bar graph.
you guys to have a tracker. My tracker is not that complicated. It's just literally, it is a calendar. The calendar says something like, you can click on the day and it says something like intimate today, and then you just switch the toggle. And it just shows up on the calendar. I think it's supposed to be used as a getting pregnant tool. That's not what I'm using it for. I'm just using it because, like,
We're getting some tool. That's it.
I just think intimacy is super important. Like, how satisfied you are with like the sex in your marriage or your relationship is like an indicator of how everything else is going. In my opinion.
And I think and Johanna, I think that on a relatively serious note here, I mean I think that there is absolutely, I think that a spreadsheet like this shows that as obviously the husband feels like its intimacy is important because he's tried like 27 times over the course of a month to get his wife to be intimate, and on the flip side, clearly these are two people that are not seeing their relationship the same way, right?
Yeah.
She is literally looking for every excuse she can possibly come up with to not have sex, right? And I don't know how long this guy's capable of going or something like that, but clearly like the intimacy in their relationship is gone, and it's gone for a multitude of different reasons, but most of those reasons are initiated by her. He's still trying to have sex with his wife. He is still trying to be intimate with his wife, and she is telling him either one, she doesn't want to do it because her body doesn't feel right or whatever, because she just came from the gym
That's not what she's saying.
something
Right.
crazy like that, or she's tired, whatever, but in all honesty, for a guy, it's telling her like, look, I don't want you. You know what I mean? Like he's telling her like, yo, I still want to be with you. I still want to have sex with my wife. And she's pretty much telling him in no uncertain terms, I don't really want to be with you right now at this moment or any real moment, because I won't want to be with you tomorrow and not the next day and not the next day either. So, at some point in time it gets frustrating. And I honestly think that as a wife, she should be she should be relatively happy that this is where he went with it, rather than taking it somewhere completely different. Rather than, hey, I'm gonna bone your cousin or something like that, because clearly he could go there with that. You know what I mean? Like there are way more, crueler things that he could have done to her, to show the level of frustration, rather than send this spreadsheet.
Well, I mean, the thing about it, I think what I heard was sort of like not understanding why he did what he did. But what I don't understand is why she did what she did. Because, I mean, on the one hand, I see your point, Johanna, that it's kind of a passive-aggressive mood. I mean, again, we can't possibly know the entire context. We can make some guesses.
I mean, there are all sorts
I
of
can defend him and say, well, I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time he brought this up.
I mean,
Yada
she
yada
might
yada.
have a condition like
Right, but
vaginismus or something that she
by
doesn't even realize she
well,
has.
well, I mean, he can just go by what she says, which is that she has to watch Friends.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that might not be the core issue. The thing is,
right, but that's
let's
what she
face it,
says, and so
ladies
he's
cannot face their vaginas. A lot of ladies have no idea
without
what's
a
going
mirror.
on. Like they haven't done the mirror, they've never done any of this stuff, they have no idea. So if she's like, well, it doesn't feel good when I'm having sex with him, I don't know why, and I shouldn't be feeling this way. I mean, pelvic pain is something that like people don't, like women are just like, I've got some pain down there. Like
Well, she
literally,
wasn't saying that. She said she had to watch Friends.
because she doesn't even know what's happening, because women are not like expected to like know
Or
their
she wanted
bodies.
to watch Friends. It's the other possibility on that one.
I
But
don't,
Well,
I
I would like to know how long were these people married? How
hold
long
on.
were they
So wait,
married?
I still
Stuff
haven't
like
made
that.
my
I'm
point, which
sorry,
is
Lorenzo.
that I
I'm
think
sorry.
that what she took it to the next level when she brought the public into it. Because now we are having a conversation about their love life. She did that. He had he sent her a message that was between the two of them, and she took it out of their relationship and then introduced it to complete strangers. So it still had the possibility of being a personal issue that they could then work on. The Excel sheet could have been, in best case scenario, it could have been used as a tool for a discussion. They
Hmm.
could have taken it to a counselor. There's a lot of options where they could have gone other than her posting it to Reddit. And then so my point being that if she cared about their marriage, that probably wasn't like the best move, because now that takes it to a point where you can't, just like sex tape, you can't get it back. It's gone into the cloud. There's no retrieving it. And she did. She took it down, but damage done. It's already been out there, and now now this brings in all these other opinions into their life. Now their friends know. Now everybody knows, and
And they
it
know about like their
and
nitty
it's
gritty
become
sex
it's
life.
Oh,
well, it's
Lorenzo,
become bigger than them, is my point. And
Lorenzo,
now, yeah.
trust me, Lorenzo. His friends already knew they weren't having sex.
No, no, and you know what? And her friends probably knew too.
Yeah.
But my point is, now they know that their friends know, and everybody knows that everybody knows. And now to me it kind of feels like a betrayal of trust, and it's a betrayal that I think, in my opinion, makes her look bad.
I
But whatever, what it the my bigger point is just that I think that move like is what is seriously going to put I don't think their marriage is. If I had to guess, I would think their marriage isn't going to make it. And if I was going to put it onto something that was like the point of no return, it would have been her submitting it to Reddit.
I actually agree with you, Lorenzo. I think that, I mean, like it was a dick move. You're bringing the entire world into your marriage, which, I mean, a lot of people believe you shouldn't even be bringing your friends into your marriage, and um, like I mean, the things that he said were dick, that
He
I'm not
just said what she said.
Hold on a minute. They were dick, but at the same time, I think we all know, we've all been in relationships. Sometimes your significant other will say some dick shit too. And if you just take them by their dick shit, you might put stuff on Reddit too, but you don't because you know that things are said in the heat of the moment and by frustrated people. So like just because he said this is why I won't miss you, like that's not licensed to put stuff on Reddit. That's a time to be like, call him up, yell at him, call him an asshole. I don't know, bitch about it with your friends, but yeah, posting it on Reddit, like putting your whole marriage on display, I don't think that's right. I think that you're right. I think that's like the the paving of the road to Divorceville.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that their marriage was on the rocks before he hit send.
Definitely on the rocks.
I'm
But
pretty sure, I'm pretty sure this was kind
you're
of
right.
just
Like, he wanted to. At least he still wanted to have sex with her.
he was still. I honestly think this was him showing her, what
Desperation.
he's going, because obviously this could have been something where, look, he just he took it. She said no, he took it. He didn't argue. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't mess with her about it or anything like that. He didn't try to push or prod or anything like that. He just left it as it was and didn't go any further, and then just said, okay, I'm going to just keep marking this down. Right, I'm going to keep marking this down so that on that moment, on that day, when she sends a message to him like, hey, honey, are you going to miss me? I'm going to be gone for 10 days. I'm going to miss you so much. Where he can say, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm really not. Like that. I'm pretty sure that maybe that message that she sent to him about missing him or about whether or not he was going to miss her, maybe if she asked him the question, that might have pissed him off. That might have just thrown him to that level, to that nth level, to be like, why the hell am I going to miss you? You're a roommate, okay? We have been living together in the same house, and we've had sex 3 times. You know what that does? I can get porn. I can get porn to get me off more times than that over the course of a month. I don't need another human being that I'm paying room and board to live with, and buying their groceries and freaking cleaning their laundry and washing their dishes and taking out the garbage for them. I don't need to be doing all of that stuff. I could just watch porn and get off more times than 3 times a month. It just makes no sense. So, I think that for him it was a last straw. This is I'm gonna put it all out on the table. I'm gonna give it all to you. I'm gonna put it all on the table. And for her taking it to Reddit for whatever reason that she did, that's on her. Clearly she posted it because she wanted to get someone's reaction to it. Maybe she just didn't know what she was feeling about it. Maybe she thought maybe she was trying to figure out whether or not she was overreacting or something like that. So she puts it out there in the world. I mean, it's 2014. So many people are doing this. And to Joe's point about how long they were married, I'd like to know how old they are. I'd like to know how old or how young this couple is, where this is going on, because this is a 2014 thing. You would think that this would be, something a young person would do, like posting something on Reddit, But then again, if you're really that young and you're not having sex more than 3 times in a 27-day span, like something might be literally wrong with you physically. You may need something to get you up a little bit or something like that. Now, if it's an older couple, first off, what the hell are you doing on Reddit? But I mean, but if it's an older couple or something like that, then maybe you can explain things a little further. And then the other thing that kind of jumps out to me is, Johanna, you mentioned it earlier when it comes to, your own relationship. They don't say, it doesn't say anything in this spreadsheet about kids, about like they have kids.
No.
So now you really have no excuse, because to me, I can give a little, I can secede a little bit when it comes to children, when it comes to kids, because I know what kids bring to a relationship, and I know how they can have a lasting effect on sexual intimacy and sexual relationships amongst married couples and just amongst dating couples, So I can see how this could happen to a couple that's, got a young child or something along those lines. I can't see it if you don't have a sex for within a 3 days span for 27 days, you only have sex 3 times in that 27-day span, and not one of your excuses is the baby kept me up. You're freaking kidding me. Like this is bananas.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think what's most important here is that he wasn't satisfied. I read this article about married couples and sex and giving like these anecdotal responses from people about how much sex they have. And the rates vary. Like some people have sex, every day of the week. Some people have sex once a month, and they've been married 10 years, or there's a huge variation. But I think what's most essential here is that he wasn't satisfied.
Right.
And he was trying to like have sex with her, and my therapist put it rather bluntly. She said that a man's ego is often at the end of his penis. and that sex is a lot of like it like is part of like self-esteem, you know. And if you don't feel like your partner desires you, you're kind of like, okay. And it can be deflating. I think for women it's the same too. And I know that a lot of women are going to come out of this and say, like, men only care about sex. But like I said, like, sex is a huge indicator of the state of your marriage, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
what if this was flipped and she wanted to have sex with him and he kept saying no? I bet you her response would have been like, "You don't love me, you
Oh,
don't find me attractive,"
Joe,
all of
Joe,
that kind of stuff. It would have
Why'd you have
been
to
like
do it? You don't have to do it with a
off the
whiny
wall.
voice, Joe.
Joe, she'd automatically
Yeah.
assume he's sleeping with somebody else.
Yeah. It's
Automatically.
ridiculous. You know,
I think he's
and this guy
gay.
created a spreadsheet, and he put it out there. Well, didn't put it out there. She put it out there, but I'm saying like he created to prove a point.
But I
And
mean,
so, and I'm sure this has been going on for quite a long time. And
but
they've probably been married over 5 years. I would guess, but
You
somewhere in
really
that range.
think so? Like, they
I
haven't
don't know. I don't
figured
think
it
they're
out, like,
newlyweds because you're newlyweds. I mean, come on.
communication?
You can't. I mean, newlyweds. You come home from work and that's you go to town. I mean, this is like, this is they've been, I would think they've been married for at least some time. It's not. They're not newlyweds. That's for sure. Does not
not,
happen in newlyweds.
not for nothing, Joe. If this was flipped and it was a guy turning his wife down over the course of over the course of a month-long period, I honestly think something's really wrong here.
With that dude,
Something's wrong with that guy. Something's really, really wrong here. Like he's
or he's
not,
getting it somewhere else.
or exactly, or he's just too tired because he's sleeping with your cousin. So,
Yeah.
so
That probably always goes back to sleeping with your cousin.
of course, I'm not going to say sister. That's just a bit wrong. But the cousin.
Yeah.
We've seen enough Game of Thrones. It's so easy to do.
That's true.
Look what she wrote. Attached is a spreadsheet of all the times he has tried to initiate sex since June 1st with a column for and then she puts excuses in quotes, and then she says, according to his, and then she puts it in quotes again, document, we've only had sex 3 times in the last 7 weeks out of 27, and then in quotes again, attempts on his part. See, like, how are you going to have a conversation with somebody without that document when they're going to keep putting everything in quotes? Even after he brings her the proof, she still is like, according to his document.
Well, like Johanna, she may have a calendar on her, or she may have an app on her phone that tells her differently.
To that then too.
So she could be like, well, he's wrong because according to my app, we have had sex.
We had sex 5 times or 4.5 times.
They're just doing it wrong.
We had 4.5 times.
They're just doing it wrong.
Hey, but if the bottom line to the agents here is if you feel like you got to get to a spreadsheet in order to get your significant other to open up and to get it on, yeah, you might want to find you might want to find a new way of doing this because clearly you guys are not on the same page. So before so this is going to lead us into our next topic, which speaking of lack of sex, apparently our fun show, our show that's been giving us the most fun over the last couple of weeks in our discussions, went down a really, really, really dull path this week. And of course, yes, we are talking about Masters of Sex. And of course, as you guys know, and Lorenzo, you haven't been around for the last couple of weeks, so we'll just fill you in. Johanna is watching Masters of Sex. It's in the 2nd season on Showtime. It airs on Sunday nights or Saturday nights, Johanna?
Sunday nights.
Sunday nights. And it's a show about sex, basically. It's basically about scientists having sex for science. And Joe and myself have been we've been having Johanna give us some blow-by-blow action on all of the sex scenes in each episode. And apparently this week she told us that there was no sex.
Yeah, so then we could just skip it then, right? I mean,
So we could usually just skip it. Although I would love to just skip it, I feel that we should at least give Johanna the opportunity to give us a little overview as to what's going to happen, and what happened in this episode, and what's going to happen in current and coming episodes, and how much we anticipate the sex to come back. So Johanna, go right ahead.
Awesome. Most of this episode was the opposite of sex. It was It really, it was like the unsexiest episode. I think I've been ruined for this show by Joe and Malik because I just kept looking at my watch and saying, is it sex time now? And it was not sex time now or ever in this episode.
Is it wrong that I feel good about that, by the way? Is it wrong that there's a part of me that's like, yes,
Or-
turned her into the perv like us. Like,
An American TV reviewer has been turned.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, and it's just Masters this week since there was no sex.
Masters. So Masters is supposed to give this nymphomaniac a hysterectomy, and instead he gives her an IUD, and she happens to be like the head of the hospital's daughter. So basically he starts his work at the hospital, and when he starts, you're like, yes, sex is on. No, you just got referred to as the fastest speculum in Missouri. I think that alone should have been a hint that this was not going to be sexy. So the fastest speculum in Missouri almost performs an hysterectomy and doesn't. And it's basically like a hospital drama for a while. He's still helping the hooker. Her husband thinks that she's getting fertility treatment. She's completely sterile. It's not going to work out. Masters has a new secretary that he's trying to get rid of because, surprise, surprise, after all that talk about science, Virginia is not working with him. So there's no science-y sex going on, apparently. So he's like, well, you can come on as my secretary. And she's like, okay, but I have a secretary. Okay, so you have to, like, use your feminine wiles to get rid of her. And she's like, okay. Meanwhile, she's working with this doctor who has uterine cancer. They're trying to film a PSA. She starts going through word salad where, like, she can't say words right, the doctor. So they go to the oncologist, and she's got, like, worse cancer or something. Basically, so far you're getting my drift. It's hysterectomy, sterile uteruses, and uterine cancer. Really unsexy. So the sexiest and creepiest thing that happens is in the episode beforehand, Virginia was approached by a gastroenterologist about, like, possibly using the technology on the camera light dildo that they were using to film the vagina in gastroenterology students, I think, talking about an endoscopy. So she comes in, she brings the gigantic video camera dildo, and he gets very excited. And so that scene ends with him stroking the gigantic phallus and having a happy ending. And meanwhile, Masters is telling...
Hold on, what does that mean? Like, he was playing with the
dildo camera.
And it made him...
He had an orgasm.
Is that possible,
hands.
Malik?
I don't know. Wow, wait, so he wasn't even touching himself. He was touching something else.
I think he was kind of squeezing himself, like, with his legs.
Interesting.
Well, I guess. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just
then all right, I'll allow it.
Still freaky. Still weird.
Still freaky. No doubt. No doubt.
Like, she was like, why do you need me to describe this gigantic dildo? And he's like, for science. But creepy science. What's his face?
Kind.
The guy who doesn't want to be gay, who tried to hang himself last week, is in Venice now, and blah blah blah, and it makes Masters cry. Like, he starts crying for some fucking reason. And then at the end of the episode, you see Virginia getting into a car, and you see Masters leaving his house. Oh, there's this whole thing with his wife and the black nanny, and like, it's supposed to be about race relations. Like, she's trying to teach her not to say axe, and you're kind of just like, I'm embarrassed for both of you. I'm mostly embarrassed for Libby, for the wife, than I am for the nanny, but it was kind of just, I'm embarrassed for you as actresses. It's really more like that you have to do the stupid scene that Mad Men has done better 50 billion times over. So Masters gets in his car. He's like, I have to work late tonight. And their cars meet, and they go into the hotel. No sex. So they are they are not working together, but they are doing something in that hotel for science. And
Creepy
it's,
stuff.
What? Looking at slides? I mean, what the hell are they doing?
well, in the trailer for next week, they're wearing like hotel bathrobes and talking about like how exciting their sex is, and like one tiny scene of him slamming her naked against the wall. So I'm not getting my hopes up because that's what all the trailers for the season look like. But it looks like I might have some nice blow-by-blow opportunities.
Yeah, if you don't, then this show needs a spreadsheet.
Yeah, it may need Justin Timberlake
Yeah.
to bring the sexy back. You know what I'm saying?
And it's instead of excuses, it would be like unsexy things in this episode:
Yeah.
uterine cancer, hysterectomies, people committing suicide.
So
Yeah, we
next
don't really
week we
wanna
can
know
expect a blow-by-blow account. Is that
if
what you
it's
said?
if it's as sexy as it seems, it's going to be. Yes, Lorenzo?
We
Blow
can't
by
even
blow.
cue the music this
I'm just gonna say
episode.
blow. I'm just gonna say blow-by-blow again.
Go ahead.
Blow-by-blow.
You're getting into the spirit of the thing, Lorenzo. Welcome.
Lorenzo, let
um,
me see your hands. All right.
I don't need my hands. We just established that.
Hands. He can just squeeze his legs.
It's kind of like. So I saw the leftovers. Okay, leftovers. It's Christmas time. They have a nativity scene. It starts with this weird. You don't know where they're going with it because it's like they're showing a doll being made, so you get to see that, which I enjoy. I always enjoy watching like conveyor belt stuff with things being made, and they show a doll being made. I feel like there was a movie about dolls where you got to see dolls being made, but it's a different discussion. You see the doll being made. It turns out that it's for the nativity for the town, which promptly is stolen, and that becomes the big news. And so Chief Garvey, at one point, he's at the store going to just replace the doll and said that he found it, but then he decides, no, this is stupid. I'm a cop. I can find a baby Jesus if I want to. And so then he goes on the hunt for the baby Jesus. Of course, it turns out to be his daughter that stole it. All of that turns out that it doesn't really matter. Nobody really cares. It's one of those things where you think people care, but nobody really cares. Because what's actually going on is that there's a big dance. I guess it's a Christmas dance. And the guilty remnants are expected to crash it. And so what Garvey does is he makes a trap for the guilty reverends where he tells them not to go with the full knowledge that they are going to come, but when they do come, he's got unmarked cars all around, and they're going to arrest them for trespassing on the school property. And so that was his big plan to handle that. Meanwhile, he gets home, and he finds his ex-wife there, who is also now a guilty remnant. She's with Liv Tyler, who's just joining the movement, and she's basically handing him divorce papers through Liv Tyler. And he's like, shut the fuck up to Liv Tyler, because she keeps trying to read this note that his wife wrote to him when he just wants her to talk to himself. He gets the papers. He demands for her to say to him that she doesn't love him and that it's over. He wants to hear it from her own mouth. But since she's a guilty remnant, she's taken this pledge of silence and she cannot talk. And so she doesn't answer him. And he's just like, just say it. Just tell me. Just answer me. And she won't say it. And then the daughter comes into the room. And then so she's all sad, and she gives her mom a present, which is a lighter. And since the guilty remnants are like chain smokers, all of them, it's not for enjoyment; it's as an act of faith. Is that what they say, Joe?
Oh, what was the act of faith?
Are you paying attention?
Yes.
I'm talking to you, Joe. The cigarettes, smoking the cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Yeah, he offers her the cigarettes, but then again, well, you go ahead, keep going, because she's going to turn it back.
So the daughter gives the mom a cigarette lighter, which is like the best gift for somebody that smokes cigarettes all the time, and with the little note on it that says, "Don't forget me," which is really kind of sweet, because when you join this movement, you leave behind all your family, you leave everybody behind, and you just become a crazy whatever person, remnant. And so she ends up throwing the lighter into the sewer when she walks away from the house. And you think, man, what is wrong with this lady? What's wrong with all these people? Why don't they just get over it, right, Joe? Isn't that what you say to
That's
yourself?
right.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
don't they
I
just
said
get
a
over
lot
it?
of stuff to myself while I was watching it, but go ahead.
Right. And so what ends up happening is that, and then we forgot all about his son. So that's the daughter, and his son, Tom, who I get confused about Tom and his geography. I guess he's back near home. At this point, he's on the run from like federal agents with this woman who might be now possibly the mother of the Antichrist, possibly.
Huh.
Just what she runs into this guy. The guy's like, "Why are you in my dreams?" They seem to be on a college campus. I can't keep track of like where they're going anymore, but they're on a
You left the
college.
fact that this guy was naked.
Oh, I was getting to that. Come on,
Okay.
Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Okay.
Wait, was there
So
sex?
No.
Oh, okay. Suck it. All right,
no,
whatever.
there's absolutely
Moving
no
on.
sex in this show. There was a little bit of like backflash sex last week with a priest, or maybe it was dream sex. I couldn't really. It was kind of weird. Do you remember that dream sequence? Did you see that last week, Joe?
That's all right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's not important. The point is that Tom and what's her face, Annie Q, Christine.
Yeah.
She is now pregnant. She's pregnant with the hugger. Do we have his name? The Wayne, right?
Yeah.
She's pregnant with the hugger's child, and so Wayne is on the run himself because the federal agents invaded his compound, and he took off. Joe is taken off with Christine, who has his baby in her, and as far as I know, she's underage as well. So they're on the run, and then this guy just comes up to her and is like, "What are you doing in my dream? And then proceeds to choke her. And as Joe mentioned, the guy's not wearing any pants or any underwear. He's completely naked from the waist down.
I'm like,
And so Joe, steps in and like takes the guy out, punches him in the face, I think, whatever, gets him off of her, and then runs off with her, and then takes her to the hospital because she sustained some, minor injuries during the naked man's attack. And takes her to the hospital, where then when they go to the hospital, then the doctor thinks that maybe he's the one that abused her because his hand is all damaged from punching out the crazy naked guy. And since they're on the run, he can't deal with any of these, investigations into who he is. And so when the security tries to get him, he runs out, leaves her there, but then comes back to get her wearing a target on his head. He's got a target on his head because that way God can find him. I guess this is another movement. So we have the guilty remnants. We have Wayne the Hugger and all of his minions. And then we have this other group who are barefoot and wear targets on their heads so that God won't miss them the next time he comes around. Is that right, Joe? Do I have all the...
Yeah, it's something along
elements?
those lines. I
Right.
kind of got a little disengaged when I was watching it.
Okay. And so what he does is he puts one of those on, and basically it effectively makes him invisible because everybody just kind of doesn't pay attention to those people that have the targets on their heads. And I guess they're mostly young kids, kind of like a Hare Krishna movement sort of thing, where they're just kind of disenfranchised and weird. And maybe they play music. I don't know. They seem a little hippie-ish. Then so he gets her. He had an issue with his faith, but he seemed to reconcile that. He gets her. He promises to take care of her. They then are on a bus, and she starts talking to another guy. He got mad at her. He was all tight because she was talking to the crazy guy with no pants before, and she told him enough background information where he then came up to her and was like, "Why are you in my dreams?" So he kind of blamed it a little bit on her just for even talking to the guy. And then he falls asleep on a bus, wakes up, and she's talking to another guy. And this time they're on the bus stops, and they come out of the bus, and what it is that's blocking the road is a bunch of bodies. And so I'm thinking, okay, bodies, now we're getting somewhere. But it turns out that these bodies are dummies. What there's a whole business out there now where they will manufacture a body for you to bury. Since the person you loved just disappeared, what they'll do now is they will create a lifelike person, dummy, that you can then pretend is your loved one, and then you can bury them. And apparently a truck carrying all these dummies, mannequins, whatever the politically correct term is, spilled over, dropped these bodies all on the ground, and so they weren't even real bodies, they were just dummies. And speaking of dummies, turns out that, again, the chief's daughter stole the baby Jesus, and at one point she was going to give it a Viking funeral. I think that's a Viking funeral where you take a Nerf bow and arrow and then set it on fire and then shoot the burning styrofoam arrow through the air and hit the baby Jesus, who's covered in some sort of flammable substance, and then burst into flames. But she couldn't pull the trigger on it. She thought about it. It was just she couldn't handle killing Jesus, and so she backed off. And then Jesus ended up back at the chief's house. So he had the baby. He was kind of excited about it because it meant that he actually did something. Like he needed a win. And so this was his win. But it turned out nobody even cared about the baby Jesus. And then by the time you got to go put it back in the manger, the father, the priest, who's been de-churched by now, he actually had replaced the baby with another baby, making his baby totally irrelevant. So the baby ended up just getting thrown out the window anyway. So I'm pretty sure that is a metaphor for something, but at this point I don't know anymore what the metaphor is.
I don't think anybody knows.
It's getting harder and harder to defend the show, but I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to weather all of Joe's continuous jibes
but I'm still watching. I watched it. You left out one thing, Lorenzo. Remember the guilty remnant lines up outside the.
Right, the guilty remnant. It turned out to be a distraction or a diversion. Them going to the dance because the guilty remnants actually broke into everybody's houses and stole all their pictures of their loved ones. Just not cool, guys. Not cool. That's why they're guilty remnants.
One of them got caught. They don't look like the cat burglar types, especially.
Well, everybody was at the dance. This is Texas.
There were some people at home because remember they showed that guy sleeping on the couch or kids sleeping in their beds while they were going through the house, and I'm like, okay, all right, these are not professional cat burglars. They're breaking into houses, and then they break in and steal the pictures.
They steal the pictures, and then the ex-wife or the wife, she tries to get her lighter back.
Yeah.
But which she threw down a sewer drain, so she can't quite reach it.
Yeah. Her arms are just a little too short.
Basically, nothing happened. And all that to say, basically nothing happened. Like nothing. There was actually no advancement of any of the stories, except for the fact that the guilty remnants have now moved up to breaking and entering. Is that about right, Joe?
Yeah, I could have said it better. You should have started off, nothing happens in this episode. But yeah, other than that, it was perfect.
I'm kind of glad I abandoned this show after the first episode.
Yeah, the sad part is I am going to watch the next episode.
Probably the 2% of the world that disappeared. They probably saw that that this show was going to be on the lineup, and they were like, you know what? No, I'd rather just disappear than have to watch this instead of Game of Thrones.
But you guys are still here. You guys are still here. You're the leftovers.
Yeah.
The true leftovers.
Apparently, yeah. You're the leftovers. Yeah, exactly. You're the leftover viewers.
I mean, I find the show compelling. For whatever reason, I'm still watching it. I'm still interested in the mayor. I'm still interested in Chief Garvey.
Yeah, the mayor made it sound like a big deal. You need to retrieve this. I was surprised how many people knew that the baby was stolen from the manger.
It's a small town, Joe. It's a small town.
And the mayor was like, Chief, you really need to find this baby. You know what? Just go here. Here's $20. Go buy another baby. Like, are you serious? Really? You got wild dogs running around chewing up deers and stuff like that. You worried about this baby missing this from there? I'm like,
Either
oh
way, Joe.
god.
Either way. You know what's funny is that the what's that guy's name? The guy that has the program, the weekly recap on Sundays, which for some reason doesn't come out till Monday. I don't understand that. On HBO
Oh,
Go,
John
it doesn't come
Oliver.
out till Monday.
Is it
Yeah,
John Oliver?
John Oliver's show. He actually made a point because this week has been pretty depressing all around. I mean, last week was pretty depressing all around. We had the Gaza Palestine thing. We had the commercial jet that got blown up by the rebels. And so his point being that this week has been more depressing than the leftovers. And so he actually made fun of an HBO show on his HBO show. Yeah. And then his show was depressing too because his show was basically about how there are more prisoners in the United States than any other country in the world, even China.
Well, that's not really interesting.
How are we going to have more prisoners than China? Doesn't China have like a kabillion people?
Drug war.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's not really depressing. That's pretty much just fact, and it's been fact for like the last 25 years. So
No, it hasn't been fact for the last
Sentencing.
25 years. It's in the 70s. It didn't used to be that way.
per capita, we have the largest prison population and have had the largest prison population since the drug war started back in the 80s during the Reagan administration.
But it's not even per capita. It is just we have the most people in prison. Period. Like,
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that might be new information. I'm saying that overall, we've been pretty much at the top of that totem pole for a pretty long time.
but China has like 100 times more people than we have.
Well, China doesn't have a whole industry developed to cater to prisoners, to create the prisons, to feed the prisoners. And the same complex also is industrial complex is the industrial complex that also manages the detention centers for undocumented workers who enter the border or just enter the country without documentation. It's the same
Sesame Street did a show about kids whose parents are in jail.
Yes, they did.
Sesame Street did a show about this?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yes.
Holy crap. Okay, I need to see this show.
Yeah. It's really sad if you think
I need to
about
see
it.
this show.
Really sad.
Like, did they have kids on the, like, actual kids on the, because, Sesame Street always has kids on the show. Did they actually have kids on the show, or was it more like the puppets were?
It was puppets.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And like
Wow.
they're younger or whatever. So China has 1.3 billion people, and the U.S. has 313 million people. So it's not like that's still a lot more than we have.
700 million more, or more than that.
Yeah, more than twice our population.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than twice our population.
Yeah.
Like 4 times our population.
Yeah, well, those people over there aren't committing crimes like over here. So, I mean,
It's not that,
You
Joe.
know, they're like
You know what it
learning
is, Joe,
math,
is that
doing
all
that
the
stuff.
Chinese people are Chinese. In the United States, like if everybody was white, our prisons wouldn't be so full because while drugs as black people
You-
get arrested, less people in prison not because
I do agree about. Well, before we,
Okay.
yeah, well they do.
We
but,
got a whole
it's
middle
clearly
America.
not at the same rate, obviously.
I mean, we're getting into this whole. I mean, we could about police brutality towards black men in particular, and the disproportionate amount of black men that end up in jail. But
and Latinos. Let's not forget.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
before we make this a referendum on crime in our society, as a matter of fact, we can go from Lorenzo's from our discussion here about crime in our society and take it back to the fictional world. Joe, you just happen to have a quick review for us on gang related, which kind
Well,
of
actually, I was gonna go with the strain.
oh, it's the strain. Yeah, well,
Yeah, the
that's kind of
strain.
illegal too. There's a whole bunch of illegal shit going on there too. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think yours ties more into it with power.
it does kind of, but nothing really happens on Power. So
They should
so
join. They should join Masters of Sex and do nothing together.
yeah, no sex was had on this episode, most recent episode. It's just a bunch of my really quick rundown on Power would be it's just a bunch of it seems like now that I just realized that there's only 2 episodes left. This is only an eight episode run for this season. I don't know if they're gonna but so it looks like in normal show fashion, this show is it's building itself up to its crescendo, which will be episodes 7 and 8, where everything is going to kind of hit the fan. People are going to find out about what's going on, and then we'll see how everything plays out. Everything will just blow up at some point in time, and then we'll see how everything plays out. Basically, the so the most recent episode, I think the way when we left it, the main character Ghost and the FBI ex-girlfriend of his, who he does not currently know is in the FBI, and doesn't currently know that she's investigating him, even though she doesn't know that she is investigating him. They have rekindled their relationship. He's still married, by the way. They've rekindled their relationship, and they're having sex all over the city in motels or hotels that he's renting out. They're sneaking away for their sexual trysts, and I guess he's using these moments to be with her as an effort in seeing what his life could possibly be. Like, this is the life that he wants. He wants to be with her. He doesn't want to be married to his wife anymore, and he wants to run a club, and he doesn't want to be a big time drug dealer anymore. And so the strains of his past life are pulling at him to keep him there, while the things that he really wants, which is his nightclub and this woman, are all right there in front of him for the taking, and he has to figure out how to kind of play in both of those worlds. There's really not much else going on. Again, it's really a lot of the situations and the scenes are really just kind of hovering around that main story arc. So obviously, there's obviously the FBI are still trying to catch the distributor, the drug distributor, the New York based drug distributor of this massive cartel leader. That New York based drug distributor is Ghost, the main character, but they don't yet know it. So there is a scene where they have one of their confidential informants wired in an apartment of one of the other big time drug dealers that has associations with this New York distributor, and he's there to try to get some information, find out information about the distributor, so he can get him. And while he's there, eating and hanging out and just kind of blending into the situation and recording everything he's doing, the partner of the main character, of the main drug distributor, comes in, and he goes and has a conversation with the leader of this drug gang. And during that conversation, this guy who's mic'd up finds a way to get to the room where they are having the discussion, and kind of put his mic to the door so he can listen in on the conversation. He hears a couple of names. He hears the name Ghost, and the name Ghost comes out, which is the first time you've heard this name actually be revealed in a manner that the police can hear it or the FBI can hear it. So this is the name that they got for the distributor. They still don't know who he is. They still have no idea what he's all about or anything like that, but they just know that this is the name of the guy. And so we are now kind of getting to that point where the girlfriend / FBI agent is starting to let her work. She's starting to let her relationship affect her work. She's not as focused as she was before. She's not as driven as she was before. She's sneaking away more and more to see her boyfriend who's married, while she's still in a relationship with another FBI agent who still wants her and still loves her. and she's kind of stringing him along as well. So, it's pretty much, there's a love triangle going on, and it's kind of encompassed in all of this stuff. My personal feelings is I don't necessarily like the fact that, here's this guy who's, spent the last 20 years of his life building his empire, building his drug empire. He has a wife, he has 3 children. He's living a relatively good life for himself, and just the possibility of rekindling a relationship with his girlfriend from 18, almost 20 years ago, is enough to derail him from everything that he's worked so hard to accomplish. And not to say that anything that he's accomplished is positive in any way, shape, or form. I mean, although the nightclub is, you can look at it which way you want to, the nightclub is a relatively positive venture. But it's just the fact that you spent all of this time doing this, and to me, in my, seeing these, people of power, or seeing people, people that have been successful in business in the past, they don't generally let these old school relationships, stop them from, doing the things that they want to do, or they're doing the things that they need to do to remain successful in business. And he's starting to let his business fall because he wants to spend so much time with his mistress, and she's starting to let her business fall because she wants to spend so much time with him. And so it's starting to go down that route. I really hope that it starts to take its way and turn back to, people start finding out about each other and things start happening again. Whereas right now, it's just kind of a lot of setup and build up to what seems going to be the next 2 episodes, where it's going to kind of jump off and get really crazy. So that much said, like I said, nothing really happened. It was pretty straightforward. A decent episode. I'd probably give it a solid 6. And I am still interested in seeing how the season's going to end up. I think that these next couple of episodes will be pretty telling as to where they go from here. There are some side stories. They're not really worth talking about. There are some characters on this show that I will not mind seeing get killed, so that they will not be on season 2. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Power has, it's living up to its billing thus far. It still hasn't reached over 1 million viewers in any of its episodes, and I think that that's kind of weird, even though it stars. Spartacus was able to clear at least 1 million viewers every week. So obviously the following is not as strong as some of the other shows, cable shows that are out there. But we'll see. Joe, you had a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
I still have to start watching that. I do want to see it. Thinking now, since there's only 2 episodes left, I think I'll just wait for both of those to finish and then watch all of them.
Yeah, it's really a quick view. One of the things about the show that I actually do like is that it doesn't kind of like I don't know, certain shows kind of have that feeling that they kind of go on forever. Well, this show actually it moves pretty quick. It goes from storyline to storyline pretty fast, and so it gets through that 1 hour episode relatively quickly, and you don't really notice it. If you're not really paying attention, you're in and out of that episode really fast. So that's a good thing. But we'll see. It's definitely I think it's worth a watch, and it'll be worth a weekend watch. You can probably get through it in an entire weekend without much trouble. So we'll see.
Cool.
Now, last but not least, we want to jump into Guillermo del Toro's new show. That is The Strain. Joe has been watching it, and he's going to give us a quick review on that. So, Joe, go right ahead.
All right, so after an excellent premiere last weekend, this second episode pretty much starts right where the last one left off. I don't know if you guys have seen it at all. I know Malik, you started watching it.
I finished the first episode. So.
Okay, yeah. So we pretty much start off right where it left off. The dead have awakened. The 200 passengers from the plane have awakened, and now they've gone back, just like the head guys, I forget their names, but the guys who planted this virus wanted to. Those 200 dead passengers are making their ways back to their families, and the last episode shows us the little girl showing up at her parents' house or her dad's house. So we continue that here in the second episode where the little girl comes home. The father's so happy, and he offers her food and stuff like that. and then she continues just to go about, go to her room and stuff like that, and then we kind of get away from them. We're going to return back to them in the end. But the doctor, Dr. Goodweather, he's trying to get in touch with the doctor who's supposed to be analyzing these 200 dead bodies, and of course he's getting no answer because he's dead. So they're like, why isn't he answering? And the other doctor, Dr. Martinez, is telling, well, he is examining 200 bodies. He's really busy. Just keep trying them later. So they go about their business, and then they find out that the airline is going to release the 4 survivors that they have quarantined, because the airline found that it was a mechanical failure in the plane which caused the passengers to get sick, or those 4 passengers to get sick and the other ones to die, which is definitely a cover-up. They just don't want to keep the airport closed. They don't want JFK closed for a day or 4 days because they're afraid they're going to lose all this money. So they come up with this cockamamie story that it was carbon monoxide poisoning. And the doctor's like, carbon monoxide poisoning doesn't cause a slit in your throat. And they're like, no, our evidence points to this, so we're going to reopen the airport, and then we're going to release these 4 survivors. So the 4 survivors try to go about their business, but then they start noticing that they're not feeling well. One of them is some kind of rock star, goth-looking rock star, and he's in the middle of a 4-way, and the girl is caressing his head, and all his hair is falling out. And he's looking at one of the girls, and he's like, he can see her veins pulsating, her neck vein pulsating, and he really wants, and he goes and he actually bites her in the neck with his teeth. And then he ends up, the girl's like, you freak, and they leave, and he sees the blood on the floor, and he starts licking the blood because he just wants it. It's that strain. The strain wants the blood. Then we have some other, the pilot. He starts to experience the same things, as far as like he's feeling hot, he's feeling feverish, and his skin feels like, he said it felt like sandpaper or something along those lines. So he calls the doctor, and the doctor says, admit yourself to the hospital. We're going to do some tests. And as they're doing the examination, they take the ultraviolet light, because apparently the parasite, or whatever it is, leaves an ammonia trail, so which can be seen with ultraviolet light. So they go to the hospital and they examine the pilot, and they put the ultraviolet light next to his face, and then you can see like the strains crawling around by his eye, and through his cheek. It was nasty. That kind of stuff grosses me out, but it was good. So they're like, okay, and then they walk out the room. Like, they gets on the phone. We got to close the airport. We got to find the other 3 survivors. We got to quarantine them and quarantine anybody they've been in contact with, and so on and so forth. And he's like, get me the other doctor on the line, the guy who's supposed to be examining these 200 bodies. And they're like, he's not picking up. He's going straight to voicemail. It's like, you know what? Let's just go over there. So of course they go over, and the place is a wreck. There are no bodies, and there's a dead doctor. So they see all this, and they're like, okay, where did these people go? And prior to them, while they were on their way to where the bodies were being held, they get a phone call from the father of the little girl. And the father's like, hey, thank you for sending my little girl home. And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? Your daughter's dead. He's like, no, my daughter's not dead. Don't insult me like that. She's here. I'm telling you, she's here. He's like, whatever. And he was like, okay, there's some kind of mix-up. I'll get back to you. And Dr. Martinez is like, maybe she woke up. Maybe the strain caused some kind of induced coma, and where not a coma, hibernation, where it looked like they were dead, but they woke up. So and then they get to the place where they're holding the bodies, and obviously they're all gone. So now they're like, oh my god. And then we switch scenes and go to the little girl, and the little girl's in the bathtub, and the father's like, hey, you've been in here long enough, why don't you get out? The water's like really cold. And he's like, come on, sweetie, come on, get out. And he's got the towel, he's holding it up. And then this freaking tongue comes out of her mouth, It's like a
Oh.
foot long. It comes out of her mouth, attaches itself to the neck, and just like she drains him of all his blood. And then his body falls in the water, and then you see the blood uh, in the water, and she's just got like her mouth open and like eating the blood in the water. Uh, and that's the way the episode ended. It ended just like that. It was like the climax of the episode right at the end. There's another small little scene in the episode where where in the premiere we're introduced to this old man who's been through this before and knows how to stop it, but he got arrested in the premiere episode, and now in the second episode he gets a visit from the right hand man of the main guy. Um, and apparently they know each other for a long time. They've been battling for years. You get the idea. It's been like at least 60 years they've been going back and forth with this type of thing. And he, like the old man, vows, I'm gonna kill you and your boss by the time all this is over. So yeah, I mean it's so far. Again, I like the second episode. I will continue watching. I definitely want to know what's going to happen and how this infection is going to spread through New York. Spoiler alert: they are vampires.
That's basically what they are?
They are vampires.
Ah.
Okay.
They are vampires, but it's a different take on vampires.
Okay.
They didn't mention it in the show. I read an article where Guillermo del Toro was talking about it, and this is how he envisions vampires. So they're just going to be vampires. They're vampires, and the head vampire is that huge 9-foot thing creature that you saw come out of that was in the coffin that came from Germany. He's the lead. He's the man.
And it's interesting because that's exactly what I was thinking when I first saw this coffin in the first episode. I was kind of thinking of vampire.
Yep. They are vampires, and he's the man. He's like Dracula, I guess, if you will. So yeah, they showed what happened. Remember in the premiere episode, he smashes that guy's head off.
Yep.
Into the ground so hard he breaks in it. They showed it this week, like the remains of it. It was nasty.
Did they? So they found the guy.
Yeah, they found him.
Okay.
They're like, what the hell could do this? And then they use the ultraviolet light and they see all the ammonia stains around it. So they know it's some kind of powerful creature. They just don't know what it is. They don't know it. Well, technically they don't know it's a creature. They know something did this. It wasn't mechanical or anything like that because the way the blows were done. So they're still trying to figure it out. And we'll see when they actually run into this the main baddie, I guess the lead vampire. So I'm anxious to see where it goes, but so all in all, the second episode was pretty good.
So the only thing I can say about the episode, well, I haven't seen the second episode yet, but the only thing I can say about the show so far, the one thing I had only one big issue I had with it is, the daughter looked dead. Okay, when I saw her at the end of the episode, the very first episode, you see her, and like the father is like. See, here's a crazy thing. In the first episode, I don't know if you guys have seen it, Johanna. The father is carrying around this picture of his daughter, right? So he's showing people, this is what my daughter looks like. He's trying to say, this is who my daughter is. This is what she looks like, and it's a relatively recent picture. So it's not like it's the daughter is like an infant and now she's like 7. This is a picture of his daughter, probably within a couple of weeks of this whole situation happening. So it's relatively recent. So. He's walking around, he's got this picture of her, he comes back home, he's all dejected and distraught because he couldn't, because obviously he's just been told that his daughter is likely dead and they will not be releasing the bodies to them for 48 hours, I think it is. Mm-hmm. So, he comes home, he's dejected, and he gets a knock on the door, on his screen, on his sliding glass door. He turns around and he sees the daughter, and she's like Papa, or she's saying like Daddy or whatever, and one really good look at her would literally show you. First off, my daughter's like 7. Okay, I was at the airport, and my daughter made it from the airport all the way home. Okay.
Well, he was under the assumption that she was dropped off.
By
That's
who?
what he. That's
No one just drops off a child at the
yeah.
at the glass door at the sliding
You have
glass.
to suspend belief on certain things. So, like for example, everybody's so just like the little girl. She obviously looks ghostly, right? Her skin is like super pale. Her eyes are like blood red.
Her face is bloated. Like
Yeah,
she does not look
yeah.
like like the
So like
first place I would have taken this girl was the doctor. Okay,
you know,
he
it, it,
puts her
it's
to
the same
bed.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the four survivors. I mean, they look okay when they leave, but when you see them outside, like when the guy was in the four-way, I mean, his eyes were like blood red, and his skin didn't look right, and his hair was falling out. But the girls are willing to keep going until he bit one of them. I mean, with his teeth, not with that super long
He's
tongue.
got to put that on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, got to put that on the spreadsheet definitely. Uh, so yeah, I mean, and even there was one episode. Jack Bauer's wife is in the series. The wife that got killed in season one.
Yep.
She's in it, and she's one of the survivors. And while they're while they're having lunch after they leave the airport, like you could see her eyes are like they're red also. I mean, they're like red, like vampire type red, the way the vampire eyes look. Yeah, so you have to like let that go. In other words, like nobody's picking up that these people look weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
They're
you know?
acting weird. They look weird. There's something wrong with these people.
Yeah.
And no one is everybody's kind of like, oh, we'll just, examine them, or,
Yeah.
we're just going to kind of let them be. Like seriously? Like, I mean, honestly.
Well, the fact that they let him go was just crazy.
Yeah. The only person that I think I give credit to was the doctor, because the doctor was clearly like, yo, something's wrong here, okay? He's like, the doctor, before he gets killed, before he gets eaten by all of the damn things, he's realizing really quickly that something's not right, But then he obviously doesn't get a chance to make a phone call and let people know what's going on. So.
Yeah. So, with all that said, and kind of the I guess we'll just call it dumb stuff that people don't realize. Like people walking around, they look like zombies, and nobody notices. Outside of that stuff, it's still pretty good, and I'm still anxious to see what's going to happen now that I've read the article and I know that they're. I mean, it was already hints that they're vampires. I mean, they like blood and they look dead, so that's it's close enough to vampires. And they kind of make a hint in the second episode, like that they don't like to come out during the day.
Right. Okay.
That they stay indoors because the old rich guy. It looks like they're gonna turn him into a vampire. I'm not sure, but like the old rich guy that that's like kind of the money behind all this, or is really helping out, because they're the ones that got the airport to stay open. They're the ones that fed the phony story about the mechanical issue and all that stuff. So they can go ahead with their plan. They needed to get all those. They needed the airport open because they want to spread this virus. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the coming weeks. We're gonna have 12 episodes of this, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so thanks a lot again. Thanks again, Joe, and thanks everybody else for giving us the rundowns of your shows. And we're looking forward to the next episodes of everything to see where we go from here. Although, according to Joe, the Leftovers is pretty much going to Leftovers might lose another viewer if it's not.
I'm gonna watch it next week. For whatever reason, I feel like I gotta know what's going on.
Mount Kilimanjaro.
I hate when I have this feeling like it's boring. Like I was watching it yesterday, and I was like getting disengaged. I'm like, then I start doing something else. Then I go back. I felt like I didn't lose anything when I stepped away for 5 minutes and came back because nothing.
That's how I feel about our show sometimes.
So,
Hey, as promised, I made a spreadsheet of the top 20 films at the box office. And if you take the top 9 and you add up all their gross profit, and this is including the ones that didn't make any money, so you would add the ones that did make money and subtract the money that was lost, it comes out to $63 million. If you take the bottom 5. So these are the ones that they spent the least money on. If you take the top 20 films and then you look at the budgets and then you look at the ones where they spent the least money, those 5 movies made $238 million. I discovered this using a spreadsheet.
Well, that's more publicity for Microsoft than I want to ever give them ever. I don't think that they need any more than they currently have. But suffice it to say, use spreadsheets to back up your data, to back up your points. Use the data in spreadsheet to back up the points that you're trying to make. It's easy. It's very simple to do. Whether you're trying to get your wife to have sex with you or you're trying to prove that cheap movies make better profits. You can definitely do so by just putting together a quick spreadsheet.
Not just profits, but more money.
More money in general. So before we go, does anybody else have anything that they want to get off their chest? Any big reveals? What are we looking forward to this week? Any movies? Anything that we're looking forward to this week?
Lucy and Hercules come out this week, so I'm looking forward to those two.
Lucy, I will see Lucy. I will make that commitment.
Yeah.
For a completely different reason and I don't really want to see the movie, but I'm gonna see it because it's Scarlet.
It's going to be awesome. It's got Morgan Freeman, just like every other movie.
You got that right. Oh my God, that is like a miracle in itself.
And it's got Scarlett Johansson.
Of course.
What else do you need in a movie?
Lawrence Fishburne?
It reminds me of that movie where Dakota Fanning moved all that shit around. The pushers.
No. This is more like
People, the flyby pushers. Like,
this is more like that other movie with the guy from Hangover.
Limitless.
Limitless.
oh,
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty much Push meets Limitless meets Jumper meets Lucy.
I don't know about Jumper.
It's the same. It's the same. Well, it's the same premise. Somebody gets.
Oh, Jumper. I was thinking of Looper. My bad.
No, not Looper. No, yeah, Jumper. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, we will take it. We will say bid adieu for this week. Tune in for next week's episode of our weekly, and of course, as usual, we will have another episode of the Agents of Helm coming to you later this week.
Have a special
So
guest,
stay
don't we?
tuned for that with a special guest because I will not be in attendance. I will be away, and our special guest will be Johanna.
Sharif Jackson.
Sharif Jackson.
Agent Jackson is back.
Agent Jackson will be back. Action Jackson will be joining the team once again. Guys, have a great show. I will definitely be listening. I may actually find a way to tune into the Hangout while you guys are doing it. So don't be surprised if you see me pop up on there and just post something while you guys are going and kind of rip you a little bit.
We'll invite you just in case you want to jump in.
I'll try. If I can get away from all the festivities going on around me, I'll try. Well, that's it for tonight, everybody. Have a great night. The Agents of Helm will be back, and we will see you soon. Peace.